Chad coming on Waco Tribune Herald. Caitlin, it was just seemed like a day where you guys couldn't get any traction. Did that become more frustrating as the game went on?
I don't think it was a frustration thing. I think it's more when you get down 11-0, you're playing from behind the entire time. You know, I think we had some good runs, they had some good runs, but at that point, it's kind of like we didn't come out from the jump, same as we did against Hawaii, same as we did against Texas, and we just can't do that. You know, once you get into tournament play, you can't do that, and I think trying to come back the entire game, we just couldn't get it done.
And have you, said anything to your classmates that you came in with, Queen and Alyssa, since the game's been over?
I haven't yet. I'm a big crier. So I was definitely a little emotional after the game. I know Queen was. Liz is kind of a one-and-done crier, so I think she's been holding it back. It hasn't exactly hit in yet, but I know I'm gonna see them again. You know, we have a month of school left. I know I'm gonna get with them and be able to reminisce on the 4 years. I'm definitely upset that we couldn't get it done. Coming in with them, being as freshmen, getting a national championship, but I love them to death. I love the memories we were able to make, and I know Liz and Queen are both going to do incredible things along with Jordan as well.
Stephen Hawkins with WBB. Caitlin, for all the success that you've been part of and all the wins in the NCAA tournament, how hard is it to fathom, though, that it ended on this court? This is something that doesn't happen very often here.
It's tough. It's always tough losing. I thankfully have another year. I can't say the same for at least 3 of those players out there. But I truthfully am grateful to this staff, this team. I think it's always hard when you lose, but it's amazing knowing that you have people behind you and you have people that love you. Sorry. I'm going to leave it at that so I don't cry.
Caitlin, was there any feeling that you guys may have underestimated this team? Obviously, y'all put in all the film work, prepared. Do you think you're going to have that feeling or that takeaway coming from this?
I don't think we underestimated them. We saw what they did against Ole Miss. We saw that, in our opinion, Ole Miss took them for granted, I think. I think we just came out slow. You know, I think we had tried to kind of hype ourselves up. Obviously, we don't have a huge roster. There's several things that, you never truly know. We didn't come out with enough energy from the start. They were hitting shots from the start. There were certain things that, certain plays we could have done better defensively. They're a very similar team to Iowa State, I think. Good comparison. I think they have more height. I think they're better inside comparably. They don't always settle for 3, obviously, and we saw that today. But they're a good team. I mean, I think if we had played our best game, our best Baylor basketball, without a doubt, I think we could have won. But that wasn't the case, and South Dakota did play their best game. So.
Caitlin, I know it's hard being on this side of it, but they were the record 8th double-digit seed to win on the first weekend of the women's NCAA tournament. What does that say about women's college basketball that there's so many teams like that are able to pull off these kind of wins?
I think it says a lot about women's basketball. I think, obviously, this is the first year that we've really gotten to be March Madness. And everyone has always joked, there's no upsets. It's always 1 beating 10, 1 beating 2. Like, you never get any surprises. And I think ever since, honestly, the pandemic, even last year, you saw a lot. And you could have said that was because of COVID, things like that, players in and out. Teams had excuses. And I think this year we saw in the Big 12 a lot of teams competing more. You never knew what team was going to show up one night, who was going to win, who was going to play better basketball. And I think that's showing a lot in March Madness. Obviously, that showed with Creighton beating Iowa, South Dakota beating us, several other teams getting upsetted so far in this tournament.
Jerry Hill, Baylor Insider. Caitlin, y'all seen just about every kind of defense, with the post players you have. What did they do specifically, or was there anything they did to take away Nalissa and to a lesser extent maybe Queen?
I think they do a great job of gapping. I think they do a great job of not exactly letting our post against them. You know what I'm saying? We've had that before. I think we just needed to get into screen action, things like that, roll. Obviously, backside was open, but they were very much in help, and they did it very, very well, knowing when to come to the post, when we caught it, surrounding them. And we honestly haven't seen that a lot in Big 12 this year. Truth be told, for people that have watched Big 12 the past 4 years, I mean, when we had Kalani Brown, Lauren Cox, Liz and Queen even last year, like, people were trying to double and triple team them every single time they touched the basketball. And that wasn't exactly the case this year because we have a much more spaced offense. We're able to dribble drive, things like that this year. We shoot the three a lot more, and I think South Dakota just did that to a T. They did that very well.
All right, let's go to Zoom. Andrew Miner, our Daily Bears, for Caitlin.
Caitlin, Andrew Miner, our Daily Bears. You mentioned the past 3 games. You guys didn't maybe come out with the right focus or energy. You had a terrific stretch in the season to where you were basically in must-win games to even get to the point to win the Big 12 regular season championship, and then it seemed like you just maybe fizzled out at the end, just didn't have enough gas in the tank. What was, in your estimation, what kind of happened in those last three games where you just didn't have enough to replicate that success of the season?
I'm not sure there's one specific thing, at least from me being on the team. I mean, I don't know if the coaches maybe saw something or something like that, but being inside of it, every single day you're kind of just pushing through. Obviously it's hard on your bodies every single day, and the coaches did a great job. Our trainer did a great job this year, especially with our numbers, just making sure that we were as healthy as we could possibly be. And you never know, whether it's a mental toll, physical toll, you never know kind of individually what each player is feeling or thinking at that moment. So I don't think there's any one specific answer.
All right, thank you very much, Caitlin. You can.
Am I good?
You're
You
allowed
could
to
go.
leave. Love you.
All right, we'll take questions now for Coach Collen. Again, raise your hand, and we'll bring the mic to you, Chad.
Coach, it seemed like they just played the way they wanted to play their basketball game and did it, about as well as it could be done. Is that the way it looked from your sideline?
Sure, to some degree. I mean, I felt like we looked like we were in slow motion to start the game. I think we played them pretty even after that 11-0 start, and I think, it came down to we had to foul a few times at the end, and we were heaving shots up that, weren't normal rhythm shots for us, and so it was, we've been able to this season, but I know the question was asked, well, why these last 3 games? I mean, I don't put Hawaii in the same category. Sometimes, I don't think it was a slow start as much as they had a kid making some crazy shots. And then certainly we blew it open with a 34-point, third quarter. But I think 3 games in 3 days on our team was tough, obviously, in the conference tournament. I think today they're physical. They're really, really physical. And we're pretty finessey, and that's our team. We're pretty finessey. We're not very big at the guard spots, and I think the game came down to points off turnovers. When you look at the box, it's a funny box because there are certain things that stand out to me that we did do better. We assisted on 15 of our 17 baskets. We needed to share it against them because they were helping, and so the kick and one, and the extra pass, those were important things today. They had 10 assists. That's a really good passing team that only had 10 assists. So a lot of times it came down to late possessions where they put their head down and made plays. And, and they had, when you look at their roster, 42 of their 61 points came from fifth-year seniors, that are playing this year because they had a COVID year. And they decided to stick together, and you ask why are there more upsets this year? that's why. I mean, it's not complicated when you have sometimes like 23-year-olds playing against 18 and 19-year-olds. I mean, it's going to happen on the men's side. It's not a women's thing, you know. And those guys were great. I mean, and especially at the beginning. I mean, they were their entire first half. They had 2 points in the first half that weren't scored by their big three. And then I thought we did a lot of things better, you know, as the game went along defensively when we got matched up better. You know, I mean, you know, they were ending up in situations where they were in isolations late in the clock, and you know they were so good at rim protecting with Liz and Queen, but they were posting and holding and not letting us release off and get to help. And do I think that's legal? No. But they did it, and they did it effectively the entire game. I think they called it with about 1 minute and 5 seconds to go was the first time they called that, you know, kind of illegal post up. And they just did that super effectively. And then all of a sudden it's their big guards playing against our 5'6" guards, you know, trying to make plays late in the shot clock. And I thought they made a lot of really, really big plays tonight. You know, we had to shoot the basketball better. We have good shooters that didn't shoot the basketball well tonight.
Stephen.
Nikki, I know you in this tournament, there's only one team that's going to end the season with a win, but it's been a kind of a wild year for you. Talk about, I know it's hard to put in perspective a year right now, but just what have you learned about Baylor and this universe and this team, and just kind of where you want to take it, having 1 year under your belt now?
Really? Can we talk about basketball? Got really good kids. I've got really, really good kids in that locker room that believed in what we were doing, that trusted the process, and that's so cliche because all coaches say that. You just got to trust the process. But change is hard. Change is really, really hard for everyone. I don't care how old you are. Change is hard, especially when you've had success. And so I've learned that I'm tougher than I would have ever thought. That I've learned. That I'm more resilient. That I think I can coach with anybody in the country. And I've got an unbelievable staff. And I think slowly and surely the Baylor family realized, like, that maybe I do fit in here, whatever that sounds like or looks like, or and I think that was hard for them too. I think change is hard, and so I'm incredibly grateful. I'm sure they're not happy with me right now, and that's okay because I'm not real happy with me right now either. But you know, we're the one thing I refuse to do and will always refuse to do is put anything on our players, ever. And I'm just not wired that way, you know, and I'm not wired to start talking about the future because I think right now it's about these guys in the locker room and their last game here at Farrell. And so, you know, I just think, you know, I know we're going to be okay. But right now it just hurts to not be planning a trip to Wichita.
Jerry.
Thanks.
Jerry Hill, Baylor Inside.
Come on, ask me a question about the game. Okay.
I am.
Okay, great, Jerry,
and,
thanks.
And actually, one that you brought up, the points off turnovers.
Yeah.
And the turnovers weren't that big of a difference, but it was 20-2 in points off turnovers. How did they capitalize that much more than you guys did?
Well, a lot of them, honestly, a lot of theirs were dead ball turnovers versus live ball. So, and points off turnovers can be a funny stat, like, you know, without knowing 100%, you know, like it can be the possession, you know, you can throw the ball out of bounds and set your defense, and if they score, it's still a point off turnover. So, you know, I have a pretty photographic memory, but I can't line them all up. I just felt like they were so physical. We weren't holding our seals early. And so we had some post-entry turnovers. We got better at that as the game went along, but I thought Shervin did a good job of staying loose, and we weren't holding and releasing and going and getting the ball. So I thought that was one of our early issues with turnovers. Secondly, when our guards were missing shots that they're more than capable of making, they lost their confidence. They just, in the midst of the game, and they made turnovers because they didn't want to take the shot, and that's when you kind of know you're beat, when you've got three really good guards that are really good shooters, who as a coach and as a staff and as a team you believe in, who are turning down shots and then attacking the lane and trying to play over. And you know what? The backside 2-on-1 was there all night long. And we knew it. But part of when we've had some struggles this season, some of it has been the size of our guards, the size of our backcourt. We just don't have any big guards. And so other than our posts, who we call big guards, because everybody's a guard these days. But when we got deep in the lane or we were attacking the paint and trying to play to the backside, we had people open and they knew they were open, but we were trying to play over them rather than under them or between them. And sometimes it needed to be one more dribble. Sometimes we needed to fan out a little more to create those kind of windows and gaps to make those plays. But it was that, it was us, like Sarah, Jordan, Jamie. They were just getting in there and trying to play over the defense. And they're all 5'10", all their guards, everyone but Shervin is 5'10", so they're all the same, and they just played big, and they were really good in help side.
Yeah, Nikki, Jack Allen, 25 News in Waco. Caitlin talked a little bit about how that slow start, it just felt like y'all were having to play from behind the whole game. How does that kind of affect you mentally and affect what y'all are able to do when you're fighting to get back into a game?
Yeah, I mean, it was a slugfest. It was super physical, and they were, with Queen in foul trouble and Jaden turning her ankle, our bench got shorter than it's been all season long. And we looked tired. I mean, we needed the timeouts just to catch our breath because, they ran so much motion. And I thought, considering we had zero real prep to guard motion offense, we didn't lose the game because of our defense. We didn't. I mean, statistically, they shot below 40%. They assisted on 10, they scored 20 baskets. Our offense let us down, But it was a slugfest. It was physical. We had to fight around screens for 20 seconds, 22 seconds, and then, play one-on-one and try to finish a possession out. So I think it was just the nature of, there are certain teams that you play against where when you play against Oklahoma, 9 points is nothing for them or you. It's not, you just know the number of possessions in the game, being down an 11-0 run is going to happen at 3 points during that game. In this game, sometimes being down 10 feels like 20 because you're slugging it out every possession and you're having to work. And I thought the physical part of the game wore us down. They were very, very, very physical with us.
All right, Coach, let's go to Zoom. We've got Lindsay Schnell with USA Today.
Hey, Nikki. Lindsay with USA Today. I know it's really hard to lose on your home floor, but I'm interested to hear your perspective on this because you came from the pro game and have just observed college basketball for so long. Do we need to move all the women's games to neutral sites? Is that going to help grow parity even faster?
I think we have to be clever about it. I don't think we want to take away from the athlete. I think the fact that Creighton went into Iowa and won in front of a sellout crowd, kudos to the Hawkeye fans for selling out their last 3 games. It's incredible. You know, and great fans here in Waco this weekend. The one thing I don't want to see our game do is go to neutral sites and not play in front of everyone. You know, I mean, you look at the Big 12 tournament and had Iowa State beaten Texas in the semifinals, it would have been certainly 10,000 Iowa State fans. But, you know, instead there was, you know, a nice little contingent from Baylor and one from Texas. But it didn't have the building didn't have the same energy as watching the Iowa State-Texas game and watching Texas beat Iowa State. So I would want to know that we have a plan for how to put people in the stands at neutral site games. And if we do, awesome. You know, I mean, I know it's controversial to start talking, you know, I'm not throwing, but Debbie Antonelli's been talking about Sweet 16 to Vegas. I think that's a unique idea of how we can grow our fan base and fans can plan every year to be places. I mean, I think women's basketball people will travel, but, you know, is moving from Bridgeport to Hartford to wherever, is that really neutral, you know, each year? So I would love to say yes. I would really love to say yes, and we just lost. And I do think it would cause more upsets. But I also would want to know that the student-athlete experience was going to be really, really good too, and that they were going to be creative in finding ways to fill the stands. Because, you know, I know that when I played, I would rather play in front of 10,000 people screaming against me than 500 people.
All right, last question from Andrew Miner.
Yeah, Andrew Miner, our Daily Bears. Coach Melissa Smith didn't have her best day today, obviously, but she had an outstanding career. I know this is obviously your first year with the program and coaching her, but how would you sum up and want fans to remember Melissa Smith as well as your other seniors and this entire year?
I mean, Melissa had 2,000 points and 1,000 rebounds. That's remarkable. It's remarkable consistency. You know, I think especially as someone who got 2,000 and 1,000 and didn't start as a freshman. I don't know that there's been a lot of, you'd have to go to stats.com to find that out, but like who's scored 2,000 points in their career and didn't start? You know, knowing that Kalani and Lauren were here. She won a national championship, and she was a big part of that. Obviously, Lauren got hurt in that national championship game, and so, you know, a great player. I think a great player that developed her game. I think she's the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft. And if she's not, I'll be disappointed, but that's Mike Tebow's choice, so I'll just bother him if he gets it wrong. But, you know, I think Liz is pretty quiet. She's not... you know, but she just kind of quietly goes about her business. She's competitive. She's had some of her biggest games when we've needed her the most. You know, when she's struggled at times, she's rallied and then had huge games in second halves when we've needed her. You know, she came back from an injury against Texas and played all 20 in the second half, and I was prepared to not play her 2 seconds. And so I think she's got a warrior mentality. I still think her best basketball is ahead of her. And that's not always the case. Like some players, you know, show their best at the collegiate level, and some people have a whole nother level. And I just firmly believe Liz has a whole nother level to get to as she really understands the pro game and spacing and you know, I think long term, I think the kid can also be a kid that like goes and gets a triple double, and becomes like a really great passer because she does so many things well with the basketball. The other seniors, I mean, Jordan Lewis, in some ways I almost feel the worst for her because when you have 1 year and your goal is to come somewhere and compete at the highest level, the other seniors have been there. They've been to Elite Eights. They've been to Final Fours. They've won a national championship. And she came here to do something she hadn't done before. And I don't think it's easy to come in and have the impact she had, when you haven't been in the program. And I think she quietly gained the respect of her teammates. In the summer, she really kind of sat back and let other people lead. And the more we challenged her to be a leader, because you could tell she had a great basketball IQ, and I felt like she had the respect because she showed up and she got extra shots, and she just is such a competitor. I'm grateful she said yes to coming here. She didn't have to say yes. Yes, she had committed to come here, but there's nothing binding about a commitment when you're transferring. So I'm grateful that she chose to come here. Queen, I told Queen, she's just one of those people that drives you crazy and that you love really hard all the time, because she's emotional, and there can be two sides to that, but I firmly believe that no matter what kind of mood Queen was in, that she was going to have my back. So, and Queen hasn't decided what she's going to do yet. That'll come, sooner than later, obviously, but a great group, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about Caitlin because she's coming back, but how we play was really good for Caitlin. She's probably the one kid that maybe didn't fit, how they played in the past. And so she was such a great team player, but, just never got a lot of minutes. And, I thought she was our sixth starter all year long, and there were a lot of times where we were better on the floor without her. Look at the game tonight. We couldn't get any traction. We were still +3 in her 27 minutes. So the game changed, when she was in it. And she learned to play the three a little bit this year, which she's never done before, and became a little bit of a big guard for us. So, and Jamie, who's coming back too, is a senior. And I think people don't realize that Jamie and Jordan and Sarah didn't get a lot of minutes here. Jordan didn't play here, and Jamie didn't play here a year ago. So I think what we did was pretty special with 3 new starters at the guard spots.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.